Okay, welcome to the Snowbird meeting room. I'm Shadow Spectre 11, and I'm here with my two friends, Void Walker Joe and King Payne. So, today we're going to be talking about the cargo refactor, the one of the hottest subjects in Star Citizen right now. As you all remember, the Inside Star Citizen, the cargo show came out last week, and there were a lot of questions that came about after this was shown. And today, uh, they did a Spectrum AMA on the cargo refactor with the lead designer, Dan Griffiths, Gozer of CIG, of the USPU team, to talk about it. So we're going to review it and talk about the points, and we can get started. So, welcome, gentlemen, and it is a pleasure to have you back again. And if you want to introduce yourself, Joe, get your channel, and then we'll go to Mike.
Sure. I'm Void Walker Joe. I have a YouTube channel that covers a lot of different Star Citizen stuff. Um, the handle is Void Walker Joe. So there's that. I'm also the org leader of the Lost Suli, a Banu background org. Um, do a little bit of everything, and that's me.
Okay, pleasure to have you. And Mike, King Payne.
Hey, the name's Payne, and I do not have a YouTube channel, but I am a manager of a game development team called Totally Not Cops, and I am also a Star Citizen player. I'm part of an org called IHLS, and we are a lawful good org that does transportation and hauling and stuff like that. Basically, space truckers. So, yeah, pleasure to be here.
All righty. So, let us get started with this AMA. And it is the recap from the Spectrum post. So they took out a lot of questions. There was a ton of questions that were there. And I think they basically got the meat of what people were asking because, like I said, there was a lot of holes in the Inside Star Citizen episode. And it left me a little confused on some things, but when Mike, Joe, and I were talking about this before, the main question was how is the cargo going to be loaded in this tier zero implementation? So, first question: will cargo loading timers be a part of 318? And they're saying at the moment, nothing changes with loading and unloading. This is handled automatically as it has been in the past. Once manual loading and unloading becomes a reality, you will have the option to choose between the two. If you choose to have the location do the loading and unloading, there will be a cost and a time when your ship is unavailable while the process completes, much like the current refinery gameplay. Now that's good.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Um,
Not
go,
to jump in, but
no, go ahead, go ahead, dude.
thank you. Yeah, no, I think it's a good thing because it doesn't push people too hard into it, and it lets people get used to how physicalized cargo is going to work. And to recap a little bit, that's what the cargo refactor really is physicalizing the cargo that you have. And so everything will function as is, but the difference is that physicalization. Um, and I dig, a little bit digging around on the internet and come to find that the idea implanted for the future is going to be one or two scenarios, and it's going to be either A, as you just mentioned, manual loading, and then B, automatic loading. Now, the thing that I want people to remember is that in Tier 0, we're not having that. We got to remember that for the months to come.
Mm-hmm.
So
They said that several
Yeah.
times in this thing too. That it would be automatic, and then in the future you would have you'd have a choice, and of course you'd have to wait. Yeah, so I like that idea. I like it because I'm definitely probably going to end up paying most of the time to get it loaded. I don't want to wait. I'm not going to lie.
Right.
So I got a question for you guys on that, and I've already thought about my answer, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. Small ship versus big ship, automatic loading or manual loading. So Hull A versus Hercules C2. I'll let you try drive traffic there.
Oh wow.
Go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I mean, okay, so for a small ship, right? We'll get to the C2 here in a minute. But for a small ship, it would just make sense to I mean, it's going to be cheap as hell to load that thing up. So why would you not shave off a couple extra seconds and just have it automatically be loaded up and be on your way? And, a big ship, you're probably going to have most likely a friend with you. And yeah, I mean, you're not going to you less likely to want to pay for that much cargo to be put on there. Unless you guys like split the cost or something like that, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, other than that, like I would at this point I would since we're all in orgs, we got enough people. We're gonna probably plan for all of this and have enough people to be able to load it yourself.
Okay.
But
Well, my take on this, and this is where I know when 318 hits, I'm going to be running this. I'm going to be running Thunderstar, my Star Runner. The reason why is because when we get this wipe, we're not going to have enough capital to do anything with a larger ship. So I'm going to try once it comes the manual loading, and I'm going to utilize my mule just to see what it's like, just to see what type of mechanics it's going to use to load the ship, and then do it that way. After that, I'm sorry, I'm paying somebody. I, I mean, I'm not gonna say I'll do it all the time, but with the C2, dude, I'm sorry, I'm coughing up some cash. I'm just gonna say it.
there is one quality of life thing that they did bring up that I'm super happy of. The snapping of the grid is that
Yes.
like you just bring so it I mean when I think of snapping they didn't really like explain it, but when I think of snapping, like you're gonna bring that box to the cargo grid and it's gonna go just suck to the ground in whatever spot that's in. And that I mean my worry is like how are you gonna be able to if you didn't have that you're not gonna be able to stack things right, and then that's just gonna
Mm-hmm.
fall around. How is that gonna be on the grid proportionally, especially if you got a lot more cargo. So yeah, they would need that whole snap
Yeah.
thing. So I did honestly didn't think of that until like right before the AMA,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad they did address it. So we'll get to uh,
Yeah.
that one here soon. But that whole thing, if that wasn't in, I it'd be a mess, and I probably would never. I would be willing to pay anything to never fucking load my sorry to load my ship. But
Right.
uh yeah, I mean, and it could be fun. I mean, already like in the game there's so many tedious things that we have to do and deal with, and the fact that that's actually something that could be fun with friends.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I I've been waiting for this ever since I heard about it. I just can't wait for it to hit so I can see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay. Next question. If you want, if you guys are ready to go to the next one.
When you get to the next question for this time, give me a second to actually get to it here on the AMA because they are not in order from what you're reading here too.
Okay.
Okay. That's weird. Because mine's straight. What? I I want to complete my thought on that question I
Yeah, go
asked.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So effectively, smaller ships I don't care about. Those will be easy, done, my time, whatever.
Yeah.
But large ships, and this kind of falls into Joe's point for having orgs or being a part of orgs. Um, this is another facet of multi-crew gameplay that I don't think people are considering.
True.
If you're a single pilot for a C2, no, you pay for that loading because it'll be like refining basically. But you pay for it. You're not gonna have your ship for a little bit of time, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But now consider this: you're flying another ship that's designated for cargo hauling. Say you have a we'll just say a hull C for example. Now it's 44,000 to 5,000 SCUs of not just one SCU boxes, but 32 SCU containers.
Yeah.
So when the containers come into play, that's a whole different ballpark, is that not? Because
Mm.
now
Mm-hmm.
the Hull C flies through space. It's not designed to land on planet.
Right.
So what else are we going to be thinking about here? Well, at that point, you have Argo rafts and other ships that'll come out to collect those containers as well. If you happen to have um, a ship, say Constellation, and you're trading your Constellation, well, you hire a crew. You pay them 50K a person
Mm-hmm.
for a week, 2 or 3 days worth of work that you're going to make probably 2 million EUC over the course of the week anyway. So you're only out a little extra anyway. And those will be for the guys who are coming into the game that you're training and teaching. And if they're part of your org, they'll just probably tag along anyway. But that was my thought on the whole process. So yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I know that I'm going to be paying my crew on my ship. I know that's going to be a given. But like you said, with the different ships that are going to take cargo off or bring cargo to a hull, because that ship, you can't land that ship with cargo. There's no way. It's not designed for that. You have to do it in space.
Mhm.
So transferring the cargo from the raft, that's where your tractor beams are going to come in and placing that on that grid. So, yeah, the SRV, the C1 are going to be, and even a 315P, a Taurus, they have the tractor beam technology there.
And we're
They're
probably going
going
to
to
get a
be
couple more
utilized.
too. A couple more ships
Yeah,
True.
by the
absolutely.
time that comes out.
Yeah,
Mm.
but
And
it's going to be utilized, and
yeah,
that's where your tractor beams are going to come into play, big
and
time.
and don't forget from CitizenCon, the number one technology that'll make moving containers possible is the gravlev trolleys.
Yeah,
The gravlev trolleys are designed to repulse in a way that it's equal to the weight being pressed down upon it.
right.
So that's something I'm looking forward to too. So now you have the ability on land to move, you know, large amounts of SCU much quicker. But yeah, that's that. Yeah, that was my thought. I was just kind of digging at you guys. See, I was digging at me all day thinking about that question. But
Yeah, but it's a very valid point.
Hmm.
And um I agree. I'm just excited for it. I'm just gonna say it. I think it's gonna be awesome, and it's gonna give we the cargo haulers the gameplay that we've been looking for.
Mm.
So I'm excited for it. Even
Well,
though I know what's gonna happen, but hey, it's there. It's gonna be interesting to see what goes on with it. So,
yeah.
Joe, you anything you got to say on it?
No, that was it. That was it. He,
Okay,
I think he made a good point there.
yeah. Um, okay. Uh, in the ISC, cargo missions were mentioned. Can you go into any detail on what these missions will be like and how they will work? In my mind and hopes they will be something along the lines of this post. Um, this one is you got to look at a Spectrum uh mission type cargo contract. It's in SC form. I can look at it if you guys want to look at it with me. That's cool. Um,
Uh,
I
yeah,
want to
I've read
check it
through it.
out. I didn't really take a look at this, but
Well, I think the condensed answer
yeah,
there is pretty good too. I mean, I
yeah,
think they
I'm gonna
explain the
go with the
process.
condensed answer. Um, After 318, we want to separate commodity trading from cargo hauling. Now that's interesting. Um, Commodity trading will be high risk, high reward. If you invest a large amount of your money, you will also have to manage the cost of loading and unloading as well as protection. And this is what is going to come with 318. You're going to need protection going out there.
Maybe.
Well,
But
go. Go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say finish out the answer, and we'll address those two things.
Okay. On the other hand, cargo hauling is just moving things for NPCs from point A to point B, and you are not tied to it financially. The first step here is we will be adding cargo hauling missions that extend the current box delivery missions once you can manually load and unload your own cargo. They will start small and get larger, and
I
the
think you
only
skipped a
thing the
little bit
players
there too.
no, not here. The first step is we will be adding cargo hauling missions that extend the current box delivery missions once you can manually load and unload your own cargo. They will start small and get larger, and the only thing the players are risking is reputation.
Mm.
So, remember, Mike, you and I have been talking about this intensively,
Hmm. Yeah.
where we said that when it comes to cargo hauling, we're not going to pay for that. It's going to be we're getting paid to do it, and then we don't lose our AUEC. We would just be taking the risk of losing reputation if we don't complete the job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is what I've been waiting for. I'm excited for this. Uh, but go ahead, Mike. I know you want to. Come on, come on. Let me
Yeah.
have it. Let me have
All
it.
right. All right. So, to digest this and kind of say it another way, let me apply what they're saying a little bit here to real world. It is a truck driving scenario.
Yeah.
If you are doing missions, you are a employee of somebody. You are
Mm,
you work for a trucking company. They just pay you per mile. That's all they do. That's exactly what the missions are.
yeah.
Commodity trading, what we do now in Star Citizen,
Mm-hmm.
It is commodity trading.
Yeah.
And it's a very simplistic form, but that's equal to an owner operator scenario where you sign a contract, buy stuff, and sell it later. More like a broker, but at the end of the day, you're still an owner operator in that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And I know everybody is gung ho about the whole security scenario,
Yeah.
but I want everybody to remember that there's other things about that we'll get into later. Um, in addition to that stuff, we'll get into later about how the boxes work. The explanation later. When we hit that, we'll mention that. Um, the other portion of that is don't forget that the during CitizenCon, SCM modes were brought up.
Yes.
Cargo haulers are not, unless they are in a weird position to where there is no armistice zones. Cargo haulers are probably going to be in the quantum flight mode or the quantum control mode where they're going to be going faster and not stick in the standard control mode for the primary reason of, well, hey, in this mode, I'm going faster than the fighters in this mode. So there they go.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. Now I'm disclaimer, I don't know if that's coming out 318. I doubt it. I think we won't see that until like after 4.0, but it's just something I want people to remember. Piracy as it sits now isn't very, I would argue, isn't very interesting because it's pretty predictable how they operate. But I do think that piracy is a form of gameplay. It is a danger that we have to face when we go out. Some
True.
of us get saltier than others, but that's the fact of life.
True. True.
But that's my 2 cents on it.
Joe.
Um, well, the part that I'm thinking about right now, because this is my first time actually reading this question as well and the answer. I'm thinking about kind of like how piracy is going to be around this. It's going to be, I don't know if they're, it's going to be one of those things where, if a pirate comes by, most likely if he tries to stop one of these players doing a mission, like a cargo hauling mission,
Mm-hmm.
where that he doesn't really have anything else other to lose than the reputation. Most likely that person's just going to say fuck it still.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take a hit with reputation. Unless you take a massive hit with reputation, which right now if you fail missions due to a bug or 30K, anything at all, you take a pretty good chunk of your reputation out of it. So but I mean, when it comes to money or reputation, you can always build, I guess you could build up both, but in the short term, I feel like people are thinking more about money than rep.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that people are still going to be just saying fuck it. They're still going to be, I don't know. And then when the pirate figures out that the cargo that they have, most likely that cargo is not going to be the kind of cargo they were hoping to get, but then that's where scanning kind of comes in. We're going to need some sort of scanning to where you can actually see what that person has and kind of, I guess, weigh whether you would want to go for it or not. And God, there's so much you could do, for that in general. But yeah, I remember seeing as well that they said that the cargo containers are actually going to be shaded different colors depending on the material that it's going to be holding.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really excited to see how the piracy is going to come into play for this. But yeah, and then everything else, the rest of the cargo refactor, and then for the whole security thing, we just don't know enough about it, so I'm not going to say anything about that yet. But
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm really excited.
but we could speculate all we want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we don't know what CIG has planned and how this is going to work. I don't want to speculate too much, and people take it to the point where this is what you said. Disclaimer: I have no idea. I am just going along with what I see, and I am theorizing. So I'm going with this as a grain with a heavy grain of salt because we don't know. Plain simple as that. So I'm just excited for if the cargo missions come, that's going to be a major milestone for the cargo hauler. You know, that's what I see. It's going to be a game loop that people have been wanting for a long time. That's my thoughts. I'm gonna move on to the next one. If
Yeah.
anybody has any,
No, go ahead.
Uh,
Joe. Okay, cool. Um, will cargo containers stolen by pirates be recognized by buyers as being stolen? If so, then what happens if I willingly transfer my cargo to another player to sell for me? Okay, this is interesting. When a player purchases commodities, those are owned by the player that purchases them. Anyone else trying to sell them will have to use a no questions asked terminal, and they will not receive full price for anything that they are trying to sell. Even if I give a cargo container to a friend, they would have to sell it at a no question NQA terminal, no questions asked, and they would not get full price for the commodity. Grim Hex, for example, would be a location I could fence my stolen goods. Okay, this that states it right there. Pirates
mhm.
are not going to get the full amount,
No.
Including your
which
friend that you
including somebody else, right?
yeah. But I mean on the other end of that, you know, um actually, hold on. So if you were in your friend if you were borrowing your friend's ship and you went and you
Mm-hmm.
bought that cargo, is that
Mm-hmm.
cargo tied to you and not the ship? So when you go to the terminal to sell that, do you have to go to a no questions asked or
I think the answer is in the first sentence. When a player purchases commodities that are owned by those are owned by that player who
right?
purchased them.
But is that literal? That's what
I
I'm hoping I'm hoping
Yeah,
he actually took careful consideration in what he said there because
yeah.
that's what I'm thinking because people are going to run into this issue a lot and
Oh
where
yeah,
you're going to have the new players who don't have the ship and you're like, "Well, go ahead and borrow mine, man." And
right.
so, but at the same time, you know, renting a ship, it should be the same thing as renting a ship. You know, it's not
that
technically your ship,
Right.
but whatever you
as
buy
a
and it gets put in there, you know, you shouldn't
yeah
have any issues. So,
Yeah.
yeah
That one I think they need to uh be more specific about
mhm.
that.
Yeah,
Um
hmm
this is where I know sometimes, you know, they could say stuff and not realize that they should have been very particular, you know,
mhm.
hmm
but yeah, I'm hoping it is that answer is literal and
Yeah,
it's tied to the player and not the ship itself, which
exactly. I
yeah.
agree.
It makes more sense as a permissions based scenario. Um, the game dev manager is going to come out here. there are two scenarios in which we have to consider: the current and the future. The current is when you purchase something, you own it.
Yeah.
That's a demonstrable situation inside Star Citizen right now. You'll purchase something, you own it until you drop it on the floor, and then whoever picks it up can take it.
Right.
But I don't know they can sell. I know they cannot sell. But they can sell FPS stuff. So like armor, stuff like that, you can sell. But if right now, if I bought stuff for say my org leader ship, I have to sell it. He can't.
Yeah.
And that's the current meta.
Mhm.
So I think what they're saying that is literal, and I think they're just showing that it's a continuation of current time. But the other, I guess there's another problem there is those players that borrow ships, they can't store a ship
Yeah.
that they don't own.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's literal. That's my take on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted the NQA thing, that the no questions asked thing, and not at full price. That brings a very important thing to remember. Pirates are going to have to think about what they're hunting.
Yeah.
They really have to consider what ship is this person in, and what are they buying. For instance, a person with a hull A,
Mm-hmm.
in my mind, isn't buying expensive stuff. They're not buying medical supplies. They're not buying laranite. They're not buying um, other things. They're buying cheap metals for less than 2 UEC per SCU and selling massive quantities of it.
Yeah.
I don't think a pirate is going to be happy about selling 100 SCUs worth of something that's probably going to be worth 80 USC piece, or 1 UEC piece.
Right.
Not going to make much off of that. So
Right.
that's the thing that I think pirates are going to have to consider when they go after these targets is, okay, we can only pull the things that are really profitable or mean anything for our time. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when we'll get to it here. We'll get to the question that's asked here, but there is one about scanning, and you're essentially going to be able to see everything. Exactly what it is, what they're carrying, and how
Yeah.
much of it. So
Right.
you're not necessarily going to have to sit there and play detective too much
Mhm.
when it comes
Mhm.
to that kind of thing. So you're going to see a hull A. You never know. There might be some weirdos out there doing some weird shit with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
It's
Right.
it's gonna be filled with those sand bugs from the caves. I don't know, but yeah, scanning is gonna be pretty in depth. So
Oh, yeah. Okay. Next question. We good?
yep.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I would love to be able to buy one or two SCU boxes to be able to put whatever we want in them. Would make org events easier. Could buy all the armor for ground battles, extra weapons, ammo, and etc. Okay, this is the answer. I want you to be able to do that as well rather than having to blow up your ship and create them yourself. There you go. On top of that, I want you to be able to carry those around, loot bunkers, fill them up, and then snap them to the grid once you are back at your ship. I also want you to be able to do all this, and then go back to a station and go and sell all of this without having to transfer it all to the station's local inventory in order to do so. That said, it probably won't make it into 318 at some point. However, it will be a thing. This is where I use the dreaded soon.
Soon TM.
Right. But that's a very valid point. I mean, I would love to be able to buy a two SCU box instead of wiping out my Pisces with 4 pieces of, you know, armor to create a box.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a very valid thing. That's the only way you can get those boxes of that size at this point.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mike.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's not really much to rebuttal on that one because I think that the question's a great question, and I think that his response is perfect. Just an educated as a dev manager, again, as a game dev manager,
Mm-hmm.
uh, pointing out something here that said it will make the quote. That said, it probably won't make it into 318. At some point, however, it will be a thing. This is where I use the dreaded soon. Let's digest that. It probably won't make it into 318. Suggestive that it is active in the dev environment. That means that something of the nature of what they said is most likely active inside the dev environment.
Mm-hmm.
Again, speculation only, hyperbole. And at some point, however, it will be a thing, which means that they already planned and expect it to be pushed into the PTU at some point.
Right.
And again, soon, TM. That's all I got to say on that.
Well,
Yeah.
there was some of the, some leaks recently about this, stating that you would have to buy your own boxes and fill them up and stuff. And I was talking to Shadow about this. I don't remember when. But so they definitely have thought of it and are working on it for sure. These specific boxes though, I don't know if they're the same as 1SCU boxes or smaller or anything like that. But
Oh,
what happened?
I think Shadow's internet died.
Yeah.
And there goes the the camera
Yeah,
setup.
that's okay.
Yeah.
We're still good.
Hold on. Let me get back in and
Um,
my
but
stuff died.
there you
Okay.
go, and you're back.
Hey,
Um,
welcome
Yeah.
back.
so,
I don't know what's going on with that. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
no, you're good. You're good. I forgot where I was going with that, but anyways, there was a leak talking about boxes. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably in development right now. I would say that it's pretty close to after 318. I think it's going to be a 318 point whatever patch, maybe
Oh yeah.
closer, because 318 is going to be in there for forever. It's going to be half the year next year probably as well, just like this year 317 was.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but my question about that though is maybe it's not 1SCU boxes, maybe it's something smaller, because like they were saying, when ships explode now, that's supposed to just confetti the smaller than 1SCU boxes. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, but being able to buy them, that we're definitely going to need that for sure. That's going to be a huge quality of life thing that we're going to need.
Yeah.
But we're going to need all shapes and sizes. And yeah, when me and Shadow we're talking about how the Vulture and the Reclaimer, they make their own boxes within for
Mm-hmm.
the for that material, the whole scraping
Mm.
material that you're going to get. I forgot what it's called, RCM or something, MCR,
Yeah,
whatever.
recycled composite material or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. So maybe you can kind of, we're gonna have to see, but maybe we can kind of like finagle the Vulture and the Reclaimer to spit out boxes like empty ones.
Maybe.
Probably not, but it would be
Mm.
nice if we can kind of use that to our
Would be
advantage
cool.
somehow.
Would be cool. But okay. Any other thoughts on this subject?
No.
To be honest, no. Ah.
Okay. Okay. Uh will cargo boxes have any kind of signatures to be picked up by vehicle pings? Okay. Cargo, cargo containers can be scanned, and AR markers will be present if they survive the explosion. We have also added colored tints to the containers so you can at least identify what category they belong to, such as metals or processed goods. Okay, I've always, when I've done the cargo runs and they've been loaded on the ship, you always see some type of symbol on there that says
Mhm.
scrap, which is recycled, or metals, which is shown by a metal. Jesus. Okay. Sorry. And crystals are shown by crystals. So with the colors, that's going to be interesting to see.
They showed a picture of it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's going to make it. Those were the tints that I was talking about earlier. Um,
Right.
yeah, you're going to actually visually see when you get up close. Confirm what kind of material that's in there. Um, yeah, that's going to be so much easier to see. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Okay. Any more iteration on that? We good?
No, I'm good.
no.
I'm just glad they're doing it.
Okay. Uh okay, next one. Are we getting any dynamic prices changes to commodities? Okay. Tony Z, here we go. Commodity prices will not change for 318. Mainly because if we did it now, we would have to do it all over again as soon as we add manual loading and unloading to the loop. Loading and unloading will dramatically change the whole commodity trading loop. Okay, this is where later on the quantum simulation is going to come into play, but not in this uh, tier zero. So thoughts?
Um, I'm gonna let Joe go first.
Okay.
Um, I don't know how much the commodity prices would change with loading and unloading. Um, I can't picture that. I don't know how that would work. Um, yeah, that's kind of above what I can my process for this. So yeah, I'd have no idea. That's it could I think things regardless are gonna have to the price is gonna have to fluctuate in a way to you know when capital ships come out, like the BMM and stuff like that, and the insanely large hulls. Um, I mean, the price is gonna have to. It's gonna be so much harder to make money when those come out. I feel like, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not educated enough to be able to to really see where this is gonna go. Honestly,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm speculating. Okay, I'm going to speculate and I'm going to say it. When the quantum simulation comes into play, it's going to be massive, but it's not going to be here for the tier zero of 318 cargo refactor. It's not going to be there. The only thing we have in 317 right now is quantum fuel, hydrogen fuel, and repairs. And by moving scrap to different places and things of that nature, you do see that repairs are priced differently in each area, and also your quantum fuel and also your hydrogen fuel. It's there, but it's a tiny increment of what could possibly come. So I'm just gonna wait and not speculate on this because we've got to wait and see what Tony Z and his simulation does. So disclaimer: I don't know one fracking thing about it. Plain simple as that. Joe?
Nope, I don't got anything else.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
nothing. I can't. Yeah, I just don't know enough.
Yeah. I mean, nobody does. Nobody does because we haven't heard anything. And that's where I just leave it alone. I just leave it alone until
If
something comes.
if it's gonna be too expensive, obviously nobody's gonna be. Um, yeah, I don't know. They're gonna have to balance it out somehow because loading and unloading prices.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna have to. If it's too high, no one's ever going to have them automatically, do anything. I don't know. Yeah. Again, I can't say. I'm trying, but I can't.
Right. Because we don't know, dude. We don't know.
Yeah.
Um, Look at it like this: loading and unloading. We don't know how much it's going to cost if it's automatically done. We have no idea because quantum is not there for this scenario at this point. So I can't say. Nobody can say until we get it in the actual game and see it work. So pretty much just let it go. Um, this question, Mike stepped away for a minute. Are larger cargo containers still planned with the refactor like the ones on the raft? Why just one SCU? Why not 10 SCU boxes for fewer entities? Okay. Larger than one SCU containers are still planned, but at the moment, everything is still bought and sold as one SCU cargo containers. There's your answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all knew it
No
was
need.
coming too. So
Right. No, no real change on that. Okay. Next question. Any new commodities coming in 318? The only new addition that I can think of is the RMC, which is the recyclable material composite, which is what you get from hull scraping. Now,
mm-hmm.
I may have worded it wrong. I don't know. I don't remember the actual name of the acronym. So these can be sold at commodity kiosks. Okay. Uh, Joe, thought?
No, it's pretty self-explanatory right there. Um,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. No worries, Mike. Um, I if you can sell it, you can sell it. That's all there is to it. Uh, we
Yeah.
answer we went through the one above it, Mike. Are the larger cargoes come still planned for the refactor like the ones on the raft? The
Mm.
larger than one SCUs containers are still planned, uh, but at the moment everything is sold as a one SCU cargo container. So I mean, there's really no point in discussing that because there's your answer.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then the new uh, commodity is the RMC, so we know that's coming.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Actually, I wanted to the dynamic price changes. I they could update a table just with price changes, a static table change. They should do that,
Excuse
and
me
they
for a hot second. Go ahead, Mike. I'll be
yeah.
right back.
I do think they should have at least updated the tables in order to update the take a historical look at what's been traded, adjust the prices manually for right now, and yeah, I think people would have been satisfied. I think they should have done that, and that wouldn't have added any more crazy work. It's I don't know. I'm sort of disappointed that they didn't try to do something. But at the same time, I get their logic of okay, well, that tells me that manual loading is probably closer than we anticipate. Probably meaning after 4.0, but before 4.3. So probably between 4.0 and 4.25 or something like that. So in that range, which could still be a year out. And knowing them, it, it'll probably be a year before we see it. And that's fine. Um, yeah, the container thing we kind of touched on earlier. New commodities. Honestly, I don't think we need new commodities.
Not right
I
now, at
think that
least.
yeah, no, only I think they should only introduce new commodities under two conditions. One, new systems. So new systems, new materials, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
Secondly, um, when they add environmental stuff, so bugs, plants, um, artifacts, stuff like that. That kind of stuff you add in, sure. So like if I'm in a cave looking for something, you know?
Right. Yeah. Because we know like
Yeah.
creatures are gonna be in there at some point,
Mm.
and yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't as the commodities. I think you're right. We don't really need anything right now. I really want them to focus on Quanta, and I want
Mm-hmm.
that. I want that in. And once we actually start seeing prices fluctuate based on what's happening within the verse, and you know how we're reacting to everything in the game. I don't think we need new commodities until then.
No, I
Um,
think it would be a big
you,
disaster.
yeah, you need people. There's no point because no one's trading right now. No one's doing that. No one's doing that at all unless you're learning it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real. There's faster ways to make money in the game, and
Mm-hmm.
most people know that. I think for the most part, if you have a friend in game, you probably know it already, and so yeah, I will. I mean, the one thing that we did need, it's just a quality of life feature, but the new terminals, the new look
Oh,
for the
yeah.
kiosks, though, that looks a whole lot better. I still need to get in there and take a look at it, but from the little screenshots I've seen, it looks so much better.
Oh, the building blocks. Sorry, I'm back.
Yeah, no, you're
No,
good.
you're good.
The building blocks. The new iteration of the commodities console. Yeah, I think those are going to look awesome. But anyway, we good with the question of the
Yeah.
commodities.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Okay. Um. Here we go. When it comes to cargo refactor and piracy, what have you thought of to encourage player-to-player boarding actions with this feature?
Here we go.
Uh,
This is the
yeah,
one
Mhm.
that I was really happy about right here. I don't
yes.
even I
This
don't even care for piracy too much, but this will definitely get me
right,
into it.
right. Okay. Well, so we hinted about this in the ISC and wasn't very clear, and it wasn't. Um, with three, excuse me, with 318, we are introducing the concept of soft death. There's a 70% chance a vehicle will die with its interior and cargo intact from combat deaths. Explosions, explosive deaths, or deaths by game rules near a barrier or touching water, for example, won't trigger a soft death. What this means, 70% of the time, you and your crew are still alive, and the cargo is still attached to the ship when a combat death occurs. Ship reaches zero health in combat. The 30% of the time that this doesn't happen, your ship explodes and cargo is pushed out. Then a 0 to 90% of that cargo remains, with the average of that being 45% of cargo surviving. Okay, speculation. There's the answer. What does it mean to us?
There's one thing I'm not
Yeah.
happy about.
Shoot.
It says explosive deaths or deaths by game rules, by touching water
Mhm.
or barrier or any other fucking bug in the game.
Right.
You're just there's no soft death. You're dead. Everything
Yeah.
everything along with that is dead. And I'm
Yeah.
so upset about that. Why can't we have a soft death for I mean, I don't know. There's situations, I guess, if like you're in a no-fly zone, you're being a butthole and you know, like right now the Hurston Tower, if you fly by it, I was watching Citizen Kate's video.
I haven't watched.
she
I haven't watched it yet.
she was they were testing the no fly zones, and it turns out that there's a kill box on the Hurston Tower. So if you get your manage to get your ship close enough, it'll explode it. So stuff like that. If you're being a
Yeah.
butthole, yeah, your ship is gonna explode. I could see that being like, you lose everything because you're kind of an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, I don't know. Like, there's just so many bugs right now where, yeah, it just sucks that it won't trigger a soft death. When something the game unintentionally kills you.
Yeah.
Because if it would trigger a soft death, that would mean at least you would still be alive, your cargo would still be alive, your ship wouldn't, but you could actually have, most likely you're gonna have a friend with you, can come by, you can still salvage your cargo or most of it, or half, or however much, and still make your money back and still be alive and not lose what's on you and not lose anything that you have inside your ship. So actually, I don't even know. Like, so if you have anything smaller than your cargo on your ship, does that keep, like, if you had guns in your weapon rack, would it keep your weapons in your weapon rack on a soft kill? That's something I'm kind of wondering. But yeah, the whole soft death thing on game bugs does not make me happy. But I'm happy with the rest of it.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty decent resolution to an overarching problem that I think in my brain. In my brain, there's another gag reel. Um, so I think a lot. I did see some confusion on Spectrum posts about what soft death is. They're extending it to people, but no, what it is ship disablement. That's what they should have labeled it. Ship
Yeah,
disablement.
they should have. I
And
don't know why the person that wrote this, he wouldn't go in detail about that.
yeah,
He still this answer that he gave was very broad.
yeah. So looking at what we have here, um, this reads to me as if there's a situation in which they can't produce the proper way of doing it due to factors like server stability, the bugs. I know for a fact that you guys probably know this for a fact too. If you have loose cargo or loose something jumping around on your ship as you're flying it, hey, what happens?
Boom.
Causes damage. That's why.
Yeah.
Further to that point, there was a bug a long time ago where they would get in ships and they would fly at random. People would explode and they couldn't understand what it was until they figured it out that it was a pin on the character that was causing damage on the seat.
Yeah.
So
It was a
I,
flashlight.
yeah, it was a flashlight. Yeah.
Didn't
So
know that. That's great.
Yeah. So many deaths may have been prevented if you didn't have a flashlight. Remember, kids, put your flashlight in the glove compartment.
Soon you're gonna have to
But
take everything off.
yeah, no, that's another thing too. So I mean, I think what people here's a generalized statement, okay? And this is my observation. We are not playing Star Citizen. We are playing the sandbox that Star Citizen's being built upon. And what we're seeing, what we're being given with this answer is a facsimile of what they really want to do. It's a grounded up step of okay, this is the best we can throw together right now because of these other factors. You know, the game rules thing, I really do understand your point, Joe. Um, Near a barrier or touching water, I don't think those are good examples. I think the better example would be if you're hitting a building. If you come smack into a building, you explode. Okay, yeah, that's understandable. If I smack into the ground, I completely explode. Okay, I understand that. Maybe the material, they should probably explain this, the material that runs the quantum drives are explosive in nature. And if they are cracked, kind of like a nuclear warhead, it just gone. So that's how I think of that. But other than that, like I really like the idea of what they're doing. Ship disablement makes sense to me. You get this is the by the way for the viewers, this is the answer I was referring to on the first question. Um, your ability to fend off pirates isn't just with your ship. If you get disabled and they try to board you, if you have a competent FPS team, you get your guy who can no scope 360 somebody, get him. Because at that point, you have two scenarios. You repel them, and you call in somebody to haul you away. Guess what would be good for that, by the way? Your SRVs.
Yes, yes. Love
Um,
that chip. I want it.
and then, on top of that, and this is another thing at sitcom, this is something that'll tie into the scenario of resource management. When that comes about, guess what? If you're disabled, you have an engineer, throw things together, get power going, pick up your turrets, let them come in close, away from their ships, and just so anyway, I start blasting kind of scenario. You know, blow up their ships as they're floating towards you, so that way they can't leave. And now they're stuck, and your engines are back online because your engineer was a brilliant guy or gal or they or them. So, yeah, uh, that was the other part that I kind of wanted to bring out. Like things are coming together, but we're still in the sandbox and we're still on the foundations that's being built. So
Agreed. Agreed.
I'm wondering if you can salvage ships that have gone through soft deaths.
Yes.
I'm assuming so.
I assume so.
Yes. Well, um, look at it like this, and this is where I was talking to somebody about this. If a pirate or anybody who's attacking you, they disable that ship, right? They may take the time to salvage the ship and recover the cargo. Because look at it like this. I'm just going to say it. There are people out there. That's money. They're going to try to salvage that ship. They're going to call somebody out to salvage that ship. Plus, at the time they're doing the salvage, whoever's there is going to try and pick up that cargo. Okay. So, yeah, it's going to be a big operation because Star Citizen is a game of preparation for certain things.
That's a very good point.
So, it could be done. Yeah, it could be done in space or it could be done on the planet. So, either way, they're going to try.
Something else I'm curious of, which they didn't touch on at all, which they're gonna have to at some point. What's the window to trigger a soft death before it becomes an explosive death? because that's
Yeah.
something that pirates are going to have to really, really keep in mind. Is that window small or big? And
Right.
we're definitely
Yeah.
going to be able to target different parts of the ship. You can do that now and destroy
Yeah.
certain parts, but you got to be really good at that.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a little bit more fleshed out in the
Mm.
future, and yeah. So this is going to be in 318, right? So
Yeah.
this is how hard is it going to be to trigger a soft death? You know, because most people out there are pretty incompetent flyers, and I'm definitely one of them. I'm going to try really hard to be gentle, you know, and and maybe you shoot a little, a little bit more ballistics than you wanted to. I can tell you right now, if someone told me only take out a certain component on their ship, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. I can't. I wouldn't. I don't even know how to begin to do that. I don't know how you're that careful, So
Well,
I know how to
look at
chase
it
the
like
pip, and that's it.
yeah.
Mm.
But
Go ahead.
This.
Go ahead, Mike. Yeah. Sorry.
Go. No, Joe. Finish your thought.
no, that's about it though. It's
Okay.
it's that window. It's gonna have to be a well balanced window, and this first iteration with soft death going into 318 is gonna be I think it's gonna be tough for most people to trigger these things. And unless you're Avenger One or probably uh, Mongrel Squad or whatever else, they've been doing it for a while. Um,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to really practice. I think in 318, and I'm sure it'll get easier and easier to target components after that. But
Well,
So
I'm gonna say this. Sorry, Mike.
no,
I
you're
got
about.
this. I got this one thought in
Go.
my head. In Star Trek Online, okay, you could target specific components in that game
you can do
Yeah.
that in the
to
VR game too. The Bridge Crew.
yeah,
Yep.
yes. So it is possible. I don't think it's here at this point, but it's coming. It's
Those,
coming.
from what I understand, those though, what you're talking about, those are very arcadey ways of doing it. They're gonna have to
Yeah,
figure out
it's
Yeah.
a way
it's
that's not so
arcadey.
arcadey.
It's arcadey, but it is a possibility because once you bust that shield, okay, once you break a shield, you can target certain components to be damaged
Well,
or totally wiped out.
when these new modes come out, there's these master modes come out for flying. That's
Yeah,
gonna help
yeah,
because everybody's gonna have to slow down,
Mhm.
in combat. And if that person is, the ship that's trying to get away, he's probably going to be in the quantum mode, which his shields are going to be down, and
Going now.
you or going down, yeah. And yeah, you're going to be the one shooting, and I think it would help if there was some way to highlight, like maybe keep things the same, but since you're going to be going slower, but you're going to be able to keep up with that person probably within that moment of that little window that they have between switching to quantum mode to standard mode. Um, so maybe they just have a highlighted sections of whatever you're pointed at in that moment. Whatever your pips, kind of wherever you're pointing your pip at, it shows like a highlight of what component it's going to affect if you start shooting.
yeah.
Just
I
something
mean
simple
that.
like that. They don't even really have to do too much. But again,
Yeah.
I'm not a combat pilot. I don't know too much about any of that. So
I
So
mean, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
all right. So targeting things. So I understand what Shadow's trying to say, and I'm gonna put this in towards Star Citizen. The best ways you can do it with Star Citizen is scanning the ship you're attacking. You scan the ship you're attacking, you get the information about that ship where things are located. So then you could set up your primary reticule to say that shoot the ship. Then you could set sub reticules, which would basically be a cycle situation. So I think what is it right now? Control T or Control 5 or something like that. Where you target something. and then once you've scanned it, this is a thought, by the way. Disclaimer: this
You
is
got
just a thought.
pins too. You can pin target multiple targets.
Yeah, you can pin multiple targets. So the thing is, you target primary, and since the SCM mode is the only mode that you can actually target with, because combat systems will be offline in your QCM mode. Probably everything except turrets. Anyway, my dog is so happy right now. For some reason, he's playing with a toy. So, if Control T targets your primary, then perhaps Control Shift T, or once you Control T something, maybe 1, 2, 3, and 4, or maybe scroll wheel, or what I'm saying, some key combination that would allow you to cycle the system to try and target. Because I know, not Star Trek Online, but not only Danger, but old school space games used to do this, and it wasn't one that Chris Roberts did. It was another game. I can't remember the name of it, but it was very similar concept. You're flying sandbox, basically. Doing stuff. I think it was with X. The X series, I think, where you could target subsystems, but you have to scan first. So, once you scan, you get your reticle where to shoot for that specific target. And then you have to consider weapon types. You have distortions, which I think pirates really want, because those are disabling ships. Lasers, which melt components. So the temporary turn off, the permanent turn off, and then the destructive ballistics behind that. So it will take, in my mind, it should take longer for lasers to destroy a ship than ballistics. Ballistics should rip the ship apart, or all apart. Lasers should rip a shield apart, but melt components in the area that it shoots. And then, which translates to a pirate chasing a cargo ship, lasering the back end, starting to shoot the rear end of the area. That system starts exploding on the inside after a certain amount of hits. And then you go from 100% driving capacity down to 0% driving capacity because you had enough laser hits for you to do that. Or your distortions turn it off and you can't move, and now they're in front of you, stopping you from going forward. So that's my thought. And yeah, thanks for listening to my Theodore conversation.
But
yeah, all this is getting me excited.
Don't say it, Joe. Don't say it.
I'm gonna have to say it every single podcast.
But go ahead.
No, this is gonna breed a lot of new, new fighters out there. So
yeah, and this is something that I really feel that is going to make the game loop much larger, because I mean, I don't want to go. I'm not a fighter pilot anymore. I mean, I'll get in one as a secondary and do that type of stuff, but when I was a heavy fighter pilot and doing some of the space games back in the day, when you hit a subsystem and you were able to disable the ship and be able to not kill the crew or just totally destroy the ship, that was a big win. So, with this coming as it does, as it is now, if we have the great possibility of disabling a ship instead of totally obliterating it, that's where you're going to have a lot of salvage uh, possibilities. And this is what this is. We're bringing in something that people have been waiting for a long time. Salvage. It's not totally complete because you're just scraping the hull, but this is a major thing that people have been wanting for a long time, and be able to get cargo because maybe the crew is dead. They'll come out, okay, the crew is dead. This is a a legitimate salvage mission, and whatever cargo is there is going to be taken. No ifs, ands, or buts. So that's just my thought. That's what I see, and I think it's going to be a revolutionary um, thing for the game. That's how I see it.
Fair enough. Yeah. That's it. Next question.
Yeah. Next question. Do I need to stack boxes all square in order to register them correctly? Okay. Containers are snapped to the grid when they are placed in the ship.
Yeah.
Anything anything in the ship or attached to the grid will be able to sell at the commodity kiosk. Buying cargo works just like it does now. You purchase from a kiosk, that cargo is loaded into the ship automatically and attached to the grid. Once outside of an armistice zone, you are free to move it around and snap to the grid with a tractor beam however you want. Plain simple.
So you can have if your ship fits more cargo that's outside of the grid. You're welcome to have that, but what you're gonna have to do is sell that stuff, go back, put that stuff on the grid, the extra stuff on the grid, and then go sell it.
Right.
Which
Right.
I
is
have
fine
a
with me.
yeah,
Good.
but the other problem with that is, all right, adding
Yeah.
flying.
Boom. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully no.
Maybe
We'll
it
see though.
maybe it's fixed. Maybe the
Oh, it
one of the
won't
other
be
times.
fixed. It won't be
Yeah.
fixed.
Soon, TM.
And we'll have to see how good the snapping is. How good that works too.
Right.
Because
Right.
I'm hoping there's no bugs associated with that. I hope it's as simple as it
Well,
sounds. But we'll see.
yeah.
No,
I don't want to get in that situation where I got to fight with it.
Right.
there will be
But
bugs.
I'm sorry. I'm going to say this, and I think everybody will agree with it that this first iteration of 318, we're going to see a lot of the BUGS.
Yeah,
Plain simple.
but yeah, I mean, it's been pushed back for reasons. So
Yeah.
one of those reasons are stability bugs and unforeseen issues that they saw in their dev environment. So you got
Exactly.
to think now they're dealing with cloud environments and stuff like that. So it's kind of a different scenario going on.
Yeah.
Um, Overall, though, I don't really have anything to say for or against this question, um, or even
Uh,
the next question.
example for a cutlass.
Yeah, I don't really have much
Yeah.
to say on that
Me
because we
neither.
kind of just covered it.
Yeah.
We just kind of just covered it in that conversation. Joe, do you have anything else you want to say?
No,
Yeah.
nope, that was it.
All right.
Yeah. We're good with this one. Uh, okay. Are the external cargo pods of the Prospector, Mole, and Raft going to be a detachable and replaceable? If not, what happens to the mind or and cargo aboard these ships if they are destroyed? Jake tracked this one down with several teams, and I did look at this earlier today where he said he was going to check, and this is the answer. And yay, kudos to Jake on doing this. Um, track this one down with several teams. Currently, all of these ships will function similar. I can't say it, Mike.
Similarly,
Thank you to how they do now. Once 318 comes online, resource pods such as saddlebags or so fuel pods won't be detachable in this release, as further work on vehicle tractor beams is required regarding external cargo such as the hull series and raft. These will detach upon vehicle destruction as outlined in the ISC episode. So, somebody explain. Mike, you're good at this part.
All
I
right.
suck at it because I'm just a transport pilot. I don't think about all this shit. I'm just gonna be honest.
Um. So a lot of part of the answer is above and the soft death stuff. So I'll leave that there. Basically, if you have materials that um, are part of the cargo grid, so that if it's not on a cargo grid, it's not snapping, and it's not physicalized like the cargo grid is. What the changes are for is for the cargo grid itself. So if you have a C2, if you have a hull, if you have a MISC, freelancer, if you have Cuddy Black, anything that has physical cargo that you see boxes of. I think there's a couple things here. What they're focused on is the tier zero versions of everything. This question is asking about side versions, adjacent versions, such as your bags and stuff. So as it sets right now, I mean, external cargo, like the hull series, will be boxes, will be on a cargo grid, right? And it can only
Yeah,
stack so high, and it can only stack so wide, and like only so much of a 3D space. So that'll be just like everything else, like a C2, like a whatever. And if that ship gets blown up, there's probably a greater chance that cargo exploding coming from an exploding C2 or excuse me, a hull series or whatever is probably, my guess, more safe than one side of the C2. Um, maybe a little more, maybe half. Um, but things like your mind ore don't consider it being any different this time around. Consider it being the exact same thing. Consider um, the thing with the raft. Yeah, you're still moving commodities, but they haven't set up a way for you to drop those containers yet. So that's another thing you got to think about. Like, if I can't mess with containers because they answered that earlier, that everything will be one STU boxes, then containers aren't going to be able to do anything. So treat anything outside of standard physicalized cargo as the days of the old like 317 and before. So that's just the best way to think about it. And so, Joe, do you got anything?
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I kind of knew this was gonna happen, so I definitely wasn't thinking that the raft and like I didn't think that the physicalation of anything over one SCU boxes was gonna be a thing for this for sure. Um, but yeah, those external cargo containers, like they said before on the other question, they're not ready for it yet. And same thing with the bags. I'm sure the bags will come after the cargo the cargo containers. But yeah, there's that question beneath it asking what's going to happen when the when the raft blows up or soft death. Um yeah, and then it's just going to what happens in the what they explained in the ISC, how it's just going to be one SCU boxes that come out of that thing. So whatever percentage survives, that's going to be the one
Yeah.
SCU boxes. It's just going to come out of
Okay.
the ship. That's yeah. Other than that, I mean, yeah, it is what it is for now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just I'm just at this point where this is going to be monumental for the game, even though I've only been in it for almost a year, coming up on the 14th. And happy birthday, Mike. Um,
Thanks.
you're welcome. Um, this is a major patch for me because this is my first year, and uh, I'm just happy to see it. I'm just happy to be able to say that, yeah, I was here when, yo, Cargo Refactor came in. It's exciting. It's it's
Telling all
it's
the
an
Hey.
young
exciting.
whippersnappers what it used to be like.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
because dude, you were telling me stories on stuff that I haven't encountered, and I was like, seriously, did this happen? You know, when you were getting 30 Ks every 5 minutes,
I
you
remember
know,
those days.
I mean, I
I
can't
remember.
imagine what that was like. Okay, I'm gonna be honest.
It was the Wild West back in the day when you could only spawn in at Port-O and pad ramming was the way of life.
And that
Yeah,
was that was back in the days when I was actually playing every single day. And now it's better and I don't play every single day, which is weird.
It's
but
fine. Sometimes you need a break.
yeah, but
No, I'm just
I
saying with things being easy, you would think I'd be playing every day now.
No, you
Vice
missed the
back
challenge.
then, but yeah. Yeah, I missed the
Oh.
challenge. Set my PC on fire or else I don't want to play.
I
right.
remember. So yeah, I've been playing long enough. I think since 2018 or I think it's 2018. I have to double check, but I remember no inventory. I remember um, no spawn locations to be chosen, no medical bays, no medical beds. You only
What?
had yeah, you only had the red health kit that you can buy. You only had so many like a handful of weapons you could buy. You really only had mission. Like I don't even think you had real missions. You had box delivery missions that you didn't have reputation.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
rep wasn't in there yet. Yep.
I remember. Oh, I don't know, Joe. You might remember this, but there was the patrol mission around Yala, where you would go to different like points of interest to fight off pirates, and that
I
was
might
it.
have done that. I
It was
honestly,
like,
I think I was so new at that point. I probably don't even remember. I probably done it though.
yeah,
Are you
and
serious, dude?
yeah, yeah, and there's a whole lot more. Like I was around when medical gameplay came in. I remember the Carrick being advertised and coming into play and having a med bed, and that was the big deal. I remember the Cuddy Red not being available for a long time. Actually, it was Cuddy Blue. All you had was Cuddy Black. I remember you only had probably 50 ships and land vehicles at the time.
Most ships were
Yeah,
concepts at that
most ships
point.
were concepts. Yep. There's armor. You only had like 3 armors you could buy.
Oh,
Light, medium, heavy. You can go into caves, but you couldn't mine. You couldn't mine anything. You would just see the rocks, but then mining tier 0 came in, and you're like, oh, I can mine now. Uh, I remember, yeah, no, it's just a lot of crazy stuff. Like, I think a lot of people got to realize, yes, the game's been forever, but these last 2 years have accelerated from the 2 years prior.
Every patch gets bigger than the last.
It gets bigger than last. More stuff comes in. Oh, by the way, they hired 500 people, or they had 500 people start at October, at the
yeah.
end
And
of
they're
October.
they're continuing to hire more and more and more. They don't stop, and
They're
they're opening up more and more offices and stuff like that. So they're hungry.
it's they
They
are
keep going.
we the fans have created this monster. Let's be real. We the fans have created this monster. We are paying for
It's a
what
monster we want.
it is the monster we want. You're right. We are paying for another man's dream. Let's think about this. And how I envy him as a guy who's running this underground indie development team that produced a prototype that isn't out on the Steam market yet, and how I wish I had the money he had, because my game would be done in probably 3 months. Because that's the biggest difference. Mine's a card game. His is a space sim, FPS, MMO, exploration, sci-fi nerd dream. You know,
Well, go out there and pitch the greatest card game in the entire world, and you might get a couple million on your
Yeah,
side
right.
there. start selling concepts of cards for your deck.
Oh no, man! I ain't gonna do that to people. But you know, my grand point here is, I said this 3 years ago, and I'm gonna say it this year again. This game's acceleration is coming. The primary things, like when you see primary pillars of things come into the game, that means a monumental task is completed, and all of those people involved in that will move on to the next major pillar.
Yes.
And then that gets done much faster.
Well,
and then the next major pillar. So, point I think Joe made earlier before the podcast was that ships are now being produced faster now than they were four or 5 years ago, right? Like I just mentioned, we have about 200 ships right now. We have 4 times the amount of ships than when I started. That isn't a small feat, let alone anybody who's designed anything 3D or even concept already understands the amount of time and effort it is required to produce these things. But now you talk about producing 200 ships or 150 more ships and land vehicles in less than 4 years. And not only that, every year the amount we get is nearly doubling. The amount per patch of content and things we get is nearly doubling. Now, I'm not saying the quality is great, but I'm saying we're getting more and more, and we're getting more and more. Like Gen 12, like one of the other major pillars. I want you to think about this. I know we're trail off from the questions now. We're kind of doing an open forum, I suppose, if you guys are all right with that. I kind of already opened that door.
Yeah.
Kick that door down.
We're done with what we're done with what we came to do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
We're at an hour and 30 minutes too, just so you guys know.
Yeah.
I don't care. But anyway, go.
Yeah. So there are pillars here. Joe, you might remember this. Every major patch, like say the 3.0, was a big thing. You know, every patch you had one major pillar come in. Death of a Spaceman, medical gameplay, mining, missions, reputation, persistent inventory, or rather, what do they call it? It's persistent inventory. Our inventory used to be on the Mobi-Glass and not in the eye. And yeah, we still have the same nav map we had 4 or 5 years ago. I hate it. But
yeah.
The pillars that are coming: PES, Cargo Refactor, UI Elements. I got a list. Let me pull that up real quick. I apologize. I mean, really, it's a huge, monumental thing. Where to go? Where to go? Buying and selling will be the same.
When you think about
here we are.
Go ahead. Sorry, I'll go when you're done.
Yeah, PES, Cargo Refactor, Salvage, Hull Scraping, new cave types, new points of interest, new missions, new ships, racing, actual racing now, cargo missions. I do think if I misread this, I apologize, but cargo missions I think were mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's going to be 318 or later. But the other big thing is Gen 12 Renderer, and then you got investigation missions and Orison missions that are coming in too. This is a lot. This is a huge amount of stuff that we have not seen before. Mm-hmm. You go look at all the past patches. This hasn't been done before. You know, PES alone. If we just got PES, I'd have been happy. But no, we're getting Cargo Refactor too.
Well,
okay.
Well, think about the past. So, 10 years they had 10 years. So Chris Roberts comes out and says, "Hey, I want to do this, this, and this," and then they're like, "Sure, we can do that." Like, all right, work on it. They work on it for 10 years. They are working on all these specific different tools, right? They had to figure out there are some things that just didn't work out, so they scratched it and they had to come up with another solution. We're finally at that point where we're actually they figured out that their tools work. Mm-hmm. That actually it's there, it works, and it also in that time the other tools that they've gotten to tweak it to the point, you know, like their building blocks and that Rastar thing. Mm-hmm. That tool that they're using for rivers. They're finally at that point where they could start pumping things out
Yeah.
faster than they have been. And that's why it took 10 years, because they had to build all of this, all these tools from scratch. And we are finally at that turning point where we have the tools. They're in, to some degree,
Mm-hmm.
and they're still, of
Mm-hmm.
course, got to do a lot of work on all this stuff. But it's at a point where, as far as like features go, they could start bringing them out faster and faster. And the better that these tools work, the faster they can start pumping stuff out,
Yeah.
and the more time they have to focus on other things that they haven't really fleshed out yet. So we are at that pinnacle moment where things are coming out faster than we've ever seen before, and it's just going to keep getting faster and faster. And especially when Squadron 42 is done and they finally get all those people on board with the PU, it's going to be insane. The patches that we're going to start seeing are going to be massive, way bigger than 318. So, and then the quality of life improvements are going to be massive too. This game is going to be, I honestly think in the next couple years, this game is going to be, I won't say it. I won't say it, but it's
I'm gonna say
better, a whole lot better, wink wink, than it already is. So I think
Yes.
I think
Well,
we're going to be, tears of joy here soon.
Uh-huh.
excuse me. You
Soon,
won't
TM.
recognize the game. You won't recognize it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
with
that's
318, you won't recognize the game. It's going to be completely
Yeah.
different.
that's why I said we're only in the sandbox of what they're building, not what they are. Not we're not playing Star Citizen. We're playing the sandbox that Star Citizen is being built upon.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's an important thing to remember. So when all these problems happen and all these weird things happen and they say no, it's coming, as a developer, I understand that. Like, yeah, I get it. You have these things in the back end and you're trying your best to bring it forward. Things like, okay, so taking off of what you guys are feeding back here, but I want to interject the Gen 12 renderer thing, because this is something.
It's big.
The ability to switch from CPU rendering to GPU rendering is a humongous thing. It will remove system limitations from people. Rather move it towards the GPU, what the GPU is made to do. It was made to process
Mm-hmm.
high demand physical things and allow logarithmic things such as AI pathing, such as doors opening, to be done by the CPU. Now, I want people got to remember what a GPU does and what a CPU does. For those scientifically minded, a CPU is a logarithmic processor, means one thing after another. A GPU is an algorithmic processor, meaning it can take variables into account and calculate results. So, what does that mean in layman's terms? It means that a CPU can do 1 and 1 is 2. It means that a GPU can do X plus Y is Y over Q. That's what it means.
Coordinates. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, more coordinates of spheres. Basically, you can take a meshed object and apply a material. Now this value is here, here, and here. Now apply shine. Now apply light. Now apply this.
Yeah.
So
I'll be right back. Go ahead.
yeah. So the Gen 12 renderer alone is going to allow performance on a mass scale. Now people's systems won't be the cause, or will less likely be the cause of their 30Ks, of their crash to desktops due to an asset not loading properly. It will make the game run much smoother. A smoother running game means better performance, means that you removed major bottlenecks that have been causing problems on the client side. To be specific. Now, I'm going to be clear here. That does not mean 30Ks won't happen. That does not mean that server-side problems won't happen, because there is still infrastructure that runs the game, that streams to your computer, that will have problems, that will have to be dealt with. But overall, performance on your machine will be fine. So
Yeah,
that's just
it's still going to be a very, very demanding game, and it's
Yes.
still it's going to get more demanding. as it
Yes.
goes through too. Like you're still gonna need a beefy GPU.
I mean,
So if assuming you want to run this thing at like, have good frames for high
uh-huh.
specs, so
Oh
um
yeah, I'm running 4K on a 3090, and I'm not getting. Oh, here's the thing: 3090 on a 1440p monitor is the same frame rate as a 3090 on a 4K monitor right now. That tells you anything.
well,
That means my CPU is doing the job, not my GPU.
yeah. 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 Right now my GPU is doing everything. So I am maxed out on my GPU for
Yeah.
everything.
So yeah, and I just to go off what you're saying, as things are completed, and I guess this is kind of us echoing at this point, echo chambering on this is, yeah, it as things get completed, more bodies go closer to other things. So, but that I think the other half of that is I don't think Star Citizen has a QA team that's permanent. If I recall correctly, they have the PU team, which isn't a whole lot of people in comparison to those working on Squadron. Squadron alleviates or completes its job. All those dudes and dudettes move to Star Citizen. But that means that everything in Squadron 42 is suddenly migrated to Star Citizen. Suddenly. Okay? Excluding things that are Squadron 42 only. But that means anything that we don't have at that time comes in. Like, again, if 318 is any indication of how much of a change that we're going to see, then when we hit, for argument's sake, 5.0, when assuming Squadron 42 is out at 5.0, that means that every iteration or from 4.0 to 4.1 to 4.2 to 4.3 are going to be massive changes. And like you just said, Joe, if I believe it was you just said it, the game that we're playing now will be unrecognizable. Shadow said this too. Will be unrecognizable
We all
in a few
said
patches. We all
it.
said
We
it.
all said it.
We all- Yeah. So
Yeah.
I am excited for the future. I mean, like, look, I don't like putting my money into things that I don't think are cool, but I'm a space nerd like you guys. I love the idea. This idea is one thing I'm willing to gamble on and be okay losing money on. I'm okay with it because hey, we don't all get to live our dreams, but if I can help somebody else live out their dream, I'm gonna do it.
Chris Roberts' dream is close enough to mine.
Close enough. Yeah. It's not Star Wars or Star Trek, but you know what? I'm willing to take it. Also, yeah, Freelancer was one of my biggest jams back in the day, and so this is just basically just Freelancer on steroids.
I had no idea what any of that stuff is. I didn't even know that Chris Roberts made any other games besides Star
Really?
Citizen
Oh,
before this. I had no I
seriously?
didn't yeah, when I started playing, I didn't know anything about him.
Oh
Um
my
I,
goodness.
I just I just liked the game. That was it.
Yeah.
But
Wing Commander,
Okay.
Wing Commander started it all.
Well, yes, but that wasn't his first game.
Oh no, it wasn't, but it was a monumental breakthrough because you had choices. And if you didn't complete the mission, the next one was going to be more difficult until you completed it. And then things would get easier.
Yeah.
Or, it was a progression type of thing. And that's what made that game so monumental and so good to everybody. I mean, dude, when I'm going to say, I was working at Electronics Boutique at the time those games came out. Okay? Those things flew off the shelves. Wing
Mhm.
Commander flew off the shelves because it was so good and people enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it. I had to reserve my own copy, and I worked there. Okay, I had to
Yeah.
hide a copy. Okay, so I could play it.
I
I
I
mean,
remember this is a recommendation to the listeners. If you really want to know what Star Citizen is going to be like, go play Freelancer.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be very antiquated. It'll be very clunky for the most part. It'd be really weird. The controls will not play like Star Citizen.
Right.
But what you will get is you will get a sense of how Chris Roberts thinks about gameplay. You will get a sense of how this game is going, and what I mean by it's Freelancer on steroids. In Freelancer, you had trade lanes and you had warp gates. In Star Citizen, you have quantum boost and then quantum travel coming into play,
Jump
and
gates.
and then
Jump
we have jump
points.
gates. It's the same thing, just bigger scale. It really is. I knew it as soon as the jump to Pyro happened with Jax, or they did the demonstration of it. I think one of the sitcoms, I think last year or the year before. It was like, yeah, that's Star Citizen. When I first played the game, I'm like, hey, this is Freelancer. This is
Mm-hmm.
the way the Lagrange points are set up, the way that the pit stops are set up. That's Freelancer, 100%.
Why would he change something that worked in the past? You know.
Yeah, to know where you're going, you gotta know where you've been, right? So,
Was it? And I don't mean to cut you off, Mike. Sorry.
no, you're good, brother.
When this game originally was thought up, there was no landing on planets. It was
Mhm.
just a transition screen. That's it. There was no landing. There was nothing like that. This came about because people wanted more.
You guys mind?
I don't know
You
any
go.
other game that lets you manually land on a planet,
Done. There isn't another game.
or another
Yeah,
game that doesn't have loading screens.
yeah. Well, you know what? Actually,
Man, Sky.
it uh,
Oh, No Man's Sky. Yeah, well,
No Man's Sky
that's very
does, but it's still
cartoony and
automated.
different.
Yeah, it's automated.
It's a different game. It's a
Yeah.
different way of playing space games. That's a exploration slash community game. It's not meant for what we want.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
I like No Man's Sky. I think it's a great whole other podcast. Um, Elite Dangerous is the only other game that I know of that lets you manually land your ship, but it's very clunky. I don't like the controls. Um, I would like to see CIG, please give us a landing camera.
Oh, they will. They will. They will.
I
I
know.
I
I just
I recently saw it on a different game. There's another game out there that has flight mechanics that's better than Star Citizen. I forgot what it was called. No, it's another space game it's centered mostly on just PvP combat in space, and
Everspace.
it's got a really nice landing camera. It's right there on
Yep.
your as a MFD. You can put it up there as your MFD, and you'd be able to like see your landing. It's I mean that should be pretty simple for Star Citizen to put at least.
Elite Dangerous does it. Everspace? No. No, I know what it is because I have the first one and I forgot the name of it.
The I was watching Jonathan Winters. He was playing
Star
it the other
Complex?
day. It's a very small indie game. I don't remember what it
Oh,
was.
in the game. It's not
If you look up
Sellers.
Jonathan Winters on YouTube, you'll see it. It's a recent video.
Okay.
There is an
Well,
old actor named that. Jonathan Winters.
sorry, I'm hungry, so just.
Oh, don't need the mic.
But anyway, is there anything else that we needed to cover on the cargo refactor? Um, we're pretty much done. Um,
There's a lot on
open
IAE, but
conversation.
the cargo factor is
Yeah.
pretty much done. Yeah.
Yeah. I would
Yeah.
say that we cover IE stuff when IE is
Yeah,
done.
when it's actually there, because it's there's some leaky stuff we could say, but
No, I don't.
let them just show everybody the new stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, The PTU patch is still out there for the all backers to go and check out. And I was gonna run another look at it, see what's there, because there's stuff that I missed from last night, but they're probably past that. And right now, I think Ivacani's got the PTU um, working on some stuff, so
All right,
I'm all
so
Yeah.
good.
we'll go ahead and end it right here. So, everybody
Yeah,
who's watching, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments below your thoughts on anything that you said. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Thank you for coming to the Snowbird meeting room.
Beer
Appreciate it.